After discussing with Cabinet and caucus, after consultation with premiers from all provinces and territories, after speaking with opposition leaders, the federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. I want to be very clear. The scope of these measures will be time-limited, geographically targeted, as well as reasonable and proportionate to the threats they are meant to address. The Emergencies Act will be used to strengthen and support law enforcement agencies at all levels across the country. This is about keeping Canadians safe, protecting people's jobs, and restoring confidence in our institutions. These tools include strengthening their ability to impose fines or imprisonment. The government will designate, secure, and protect places and infrastructure that are critical to our economy and people's jobs, including border crossings and airports. We cannot and will not allow illegal and dangerous activities to continue. The Emergencies Act will also allow the government to make sure essential services are rendered, for example, in order to tow vehicles blocking roads.
Essential.
Finally, will enable the RCMP to enforce municipal bylaws and provincial offences where required. We're not using the Emergencies Act to call in the military. We're not suspending fundamental rights or overriding the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We are not limiting people's freedom of speech. We are not limiting freedom of peaceful assembly. We are not preventing people from exercising their right to protest legally. We'll always defend the rights of Canadians to peaceful assembly and to freedom of expression, but these blockades are illegal. And if you're still participating, time to go home.
Time to go home.
Is now.
No.
Do you guys see this app right
Hold on
here?
a second. Oh
It's
gosh.
called
Hold on. Get
Does
this
that
out of here.
mean
Get
that-
this out of here. I don't want to see that ad. Okay, let me just get in focus. Something's not going to work here. Keep calm. Gosh darn it. Okay, I'm gonna I tried to diffuse the light on the oh my god. I tried to diffuse the light on the ring. I'm just going to go bring it down. Okay, like that. Tried to diffuse it with my homemade diffuser. That's a Kleenex with a hole cut in it. I'm not in the studio today, people. I'm in my mother-in-law's studio. By the way, that's my mother right there in my mother-in-law's painting, and that's my brother-in-law right there. I don't know who that person is right there. Oh, God. Oh, hold on one second. Whoever said, where did it say? Thank God it's over. Find it. Someone just said, thank God it's over. I can't see where the chat was that said, thank God it's over. It's not over because we're coming back to that. Good evening, everybody. It's Sunday night. It's Easter weekend. It is Easter Sunday. Good Friday was last Friday. Easter Sunday today. I just had Easter Sunday dinner with my mother-in-law. It was delicious. We had chicken and turkey breast. Few people know this. It's also the 40th anniversary of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's the 40th anniversary of the Constitution of Canada, the ratification, I don't want to say it's not indoctrination, rather, it is the confirmation, the putting of paper to pen of a charter that very much followed the Constitution of the United States of America that guaranteed Canadians fundamental rights and freedoms. It's the 40th anniversary, celebrating the signing of that document in 1982. Guaranteed Canadians I'm going to go over the rights and freedoms in a few seconds. I'm not bringing Justin Trudeau back up. What we just watched, what we just endured, what I just subjected all of you to was 2.5 minutes of Justin Trudeau taking that document, softening it up before using it to wipe his backside. And when you hear the punchline to this, this is Justin Trudeau when he invoked the Emergencies Act, which was not the predecessor. The predecessor comes before. It was it was the law that took over after the War Measures Act was was replaced by the Emergencies Act. That was Justin Trudeau justifying his invocation of the Emergencies Act to break up a protest of bouncy castles and hot tubs on Wellington Street in Ottawa. He spent 2.5, that was the abridged version, but he gave a nice speech explaining why he had to do this to protect us. But don't worry, he was going to respect our charter rights while invoking the Emergencies Act, while freezing our bank accounts, not mine, while freezing the bank accounts of Canadian citizens without due process. He was going to ensure that he respected our charter rights. While outlawing protest, he was going to ensure that he respected our charter rights. While arresting people and detaining them indefinitely, Pat King, still in jail, he assured us he was going to respect our charter rights. While assuring us that he was not calling in the military, he just called in a highly militarized police. Sometimes police officers not wearing their names on their badges, just numbers. Unidentified police coming in with batons, pepper spray, armored vehicles, snipers on roofs, cavalry, while he assured us that he was not going to bring in the military. He just brought in a highly militarized police to physically assault, pepper spray, beat, arrest, unlawfully detain Canadian citizens for a protest that was so egregious, so nationally emergency threatening, because it had bouncy castles and hot tubs. And if you think I'm joking about this, while Justin Trudeau is invoking the Emergencies Act to deal with a national emergency for which the provinces lack the measures to deal with, while he was invoking the Emergencies Act, you had the Ottawa Council saying, there's bouncy castles and hot tubs on Wellington Street. There are children there. This is the juxtaposition of reality. But yeah, it's a little better. I'm not playing that verbal diarrhea again. I'm not playing that nausea-inducing buffoonery. Today is the 40th anniversary, by all accounts, of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada. And so who best to celebrate? Who best to celebrate the anniversary? 40 years old, by the way. 40. I'm older than our Canadian charter, but I don't remember when it never existed. Back then, I was 2 years old. Who better to celebrate the 40th anniversary than our dear Supreme Leader Justin Trudeau? You won't believe it, except it happened. And so I'm going to show you. And as much as it's going to make you want to throw up in your mouth, it's going to make you want to puke, to quote Steve Martin from The Jerk. This is what Herr Justin Trudeau was tweeting today. I don't know if you actually just heard me vomit in my mouth. Justin Trudeau, blue check mark. With a few strokes of a pen, 40 years ago today. No, I'm going to read it like Justin Trudeau. With a few strokes of the pen, 40 years ago today, Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms was adopted, built around our shared values of equality, justice, and freedom. It protects the rights and freedoms that define who we are as Canadians and brings us closer as a country. This is the man who is outlawing 12-year-old kids from flying and taking a train within the borders of Canada because they're not vaccinated. This is a man who purports to have the authority to forcibly quarantine children 12 years of age and under if they cross the border into the States and come back and are not exempt from quarantine forcibly quarantines 12-year-old children, not because they're 12, they cross the border, but because they're unvaccinated. Unvaccinated 12-year-olds, if they cross the border and come back and are not exempt from quarantine, have to quarantine for no less than 14 days. Not all children, not vaccinated 12-year-olds, only unvaccinated 12-year-olds. Try to figure out the logic behind this unconstitutional, dehumanizing, discriminatory policy. We know, I'm not saying anything that's controversial or even scientifically undocumented. We know that even the fully vaccinated can contract, carry, and transmit the virus. We know it. This is not a lawyer talking. This is not a scientist talking. This is not a lawyer pretending to be a scientist talking. We know it. Notwithstanding the fact that even fully vaccinated people can carry, contract, and transmit, contract, carry, and transmit the virus, only unvaccinated travelers, if they're not exempt, are required to quarantine for no less than 14 days. This is the same. I'm trying not to swear. I will not swear. I'm thinking it. Like when we were kids and we used to like play a trick on our parents and say, "Hey, mom and dad, whenever I say I love you to my brother, it means the most vile swear words you can imagine." I'm not saying it now. This is the guy who now is celebrating our charter because it's built on our shared values of equality. Unvaccinated filth, you have to quarantine. That's what Justin Trudeau is basically saying. Unvaccinated, you are not equal. You are dirty. You are people who are putting us all at risk, notwithstanding all of the science. If you want to go and exercise your rights under the charter of mobility, of leaving Canada and entering Canada, you can do it. But when you come back, if you're not exempt, you, as a dirty, heathen, unvaccinated Canadian, you got to quarantine for 14 days. Doesn't matter that you've tested negative before leaving, upon arrival, 1 day after arrival, 8 days after. Doesn't matter. You are unvaccinated. You are less than equal. You are a second-class citizen in your own country. You got to go isolate yourself for 14 days. 12 years old and over. Shared values of equality, justice, and freedom. You liar. You hypocrite, you awful person that is shredding and desecrating the very fabric of Canadian society. I'm going to keep going. It protects the rights and freedoms that define who we are as Canadians and brings us closer as a country. Those people are putting us all at risk. They're putting at risk their own kids, and they're putting at risk our kids. Those people, those unvaccinated heathens who make a religious choice, a medical choice, or just a choice of their own conscience, are putting us all at risk. But this guy's the one now celebrating the sanctity and the beauty of what the Charter of Rights and Freedoms was supposed to be. Holy crap, I haven't even been paying attention to the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not done yet either. I'm not done yet. I'm going to go back and see what I can get by way of chat. But in case anybody, has forgotten what our Charter of Rights and Freedoms says, in case anyone has forgotten, let's just go. Let's just go see what Justin Trudeau has violated. Let's go see what he is celebrating today. He's celebrating his own desecration. But let's just go see. And I'm sorry, I'm going to miss a lot of the chats. I'm going to try to get back to it. Share screen, just in case. I'm just going to go. Do I have anything here that I can bing, bing? Hold on. Let me see here. I'm going to get this. I don't know what this is, and I don't want to break it, but I'm going to get this and a brush. That doesn't make a noise that I wanted it to make. Hold on. Nope, that's no good. You know what? Forget it. We're going to live with this one. Whenever there's a charter violation, we're gonna do a little bing bing. Here we go. Now I see Barnes in the backdrop. I'm not sure if he's coming to make me stop doing this. We're just gonna go very quickly, people. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We're gonna bing every time Justin Trudeau has violated one of our core constitutional values that he swore an oath to uphold, and that today on Easter Sunday he is celebrating. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in it, subject to such reasonable limits, subject only. I'm sorry, I'm starting from the beginning. Brian Peckford, I'm channeling you here. Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God with a capital G and the rule of law. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in it, subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. Let's just see the freedoms, people. The freedoms that Justin Trudeau swore to uphold. Everyone has the following rights. Everyone has the following fundamental freedoms. Freedom of conscience and religion, violated. How many pastors do we have to have locked up in Canada right now because they chose to exercise their religion? How many? Bing, that's number one. Freedom of thought, belief, expression, including the freedom of the press or other media of communication. Freedom of thought and belief. No, donate to the wrong charity, you have your bank accounts frozen. Go to the wrong protest after Justin Trudeau says, go home, you're going to jail. Including the freedom of the press. No, Bill C-11, which seeks to suppress freedom of speech on the interwebs. Freedom of peaceful assembly, violated multiple times, and we've seen it. Freedom of association, look, I don't know how that one goes, but violated. Okay. Every citizen has the right to vote in an election of the members of the House of Commons or Legislative Assembly and to be qualified for membership there. I don't think he violated that yet. Skip it. Mobility rights. Every citizen of Canada has the right to enter, remain, and leave Canada. Yeah, you have the right to enter if the government doesn't tell you to go to a quarantine hotel for indefinite periods of time, undisclosed locations where occasionally people have been assaulted. Occasionally. Where occasionally people haven't had food because the government can't do things. They implement policy that they can't carry out. Oh, okay. The dog is scratching me. You know what? Life. I think we got that. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. Freezing of bank accounts, no due process, no court order, no nothing. Just the government calling the bank and saying, we don't like this guy. He donated to a convoy. Everyone has the right to be secure against unreasonable search and seizure. Everyone has the right not to be arbitrarily detained or imprisoned. I've said it before. I've lost it. Going to a quarantine hotel is arbitrary detention. I don't care that they call it a hotel, a government-run facility. Dog's gonna eat that. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. A government-run facility where you are detained against your will that is under the jurisdiction and control of the federal government, that is arbitrary detention. It was so arbitrary, actually, at one point in time, people didn't even have the right to contact their attorneys. They were whisked away. Her name is, I'm going to forget it right now. It'll come to me in a second. One of the pastor's wife, I believe, another one who was whisked away at an airport. Nikki, someone in the chat, get the last part for me. Whisked away, and many people who were whisked away were not even allowed to consult with their attorneys beforehand. Arrest and detention, it doesn't matter. It's desecrated. And the guy who desecrated it is now celebrating it. This is called gaslighting, people. This is gaslighting by definition, par excellence. It's atrocious. The lighting on my glasses is going to be very distracting, but I will have no choice. I'm going to bring up some chats, then I'm going to bring in Barnes, and then I'm going to give the disclaimers. I'm sorry. It's atrocious. The man who has spent the last, I'll call it 6 years of his premiership. Winston knows. Okay. The man who spent the last 6 years violating our Charter of Rights, today he celebrates it. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like the serial killer who goes to the what's it called? The vigil. It's like the serial killer who goes to the vigil of his victims. That's what Justin Trudeau is doing by celebrating the 40th anniversary of our Charter of Rights. My family, save myself, are all vaccinated and still refuses to get together. It's not cognitive dissonance. It's just absolute irrational, indoctrinated terror.